Welcome back to The Explainer. Look, if you're a focused learner trying to completely rewire how you think about success and financial independence, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're breaking down the ultimate blueprint for achieving millionaire status, all based on the core principles of the master architect of wealth. You know, we've been told our entire lives that the big secret to success is just putting your head down and grinding it out. But what if the very advice meant to make us rich is literally what's keeping us stuck? Let's unpack this blueprint.
So does hard work actually equal wealth? We really got to start here by just completely shattering this myth that society has practically hardwired into our brains since childhood. I mean, think about it. If sheer brute force hard work was the direct formula for immense wealth, then why aren't the people doing the most back-breaking labor, the ones digging ditches, pulling double shifts, or juggling 3 jobs, why aren't they the richest people in the world? It's a harsh reality to confront, but the equation simply doesn't balance. There is absolutely a missing variable here.
Okay, let's dive into this. On one hand, you've got the norm, high effort for a shockingly low yield. This is the utter exhaustion of the daily grind, where you are literally trading minutes of your life for dollars. The second you stop working, the money stops flowing. But on the other side, we have high leverage, smart work. This is all about building systems and truly utilizing scale. It's that strategic leverage where a single hour of upfront effort pays you dividends for years. One path leads straight to burnout. The other leads to total freedom.
Section 1. The hard work illusion and the limits of the grind.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to confront a reality that causes massive burnout for so many dedicated professionals and aspiring entrepreneurs. And it's this. The hardest workers are rarely the wealthiest. You pour your heart, your soul, and frankly, all your weekends into your work, yet the needle barely moves. Just putting in more physical hours without an underlying strategy, it leads to massive diminishing returns. After a certain point, working harder just makes you more tired. It doesn't make you exponentially richer. Your effort just hits this solid brick wall dictated by sheer human endurance. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Your physical limit is strictly capped at 168 hours a week, period. Even if you never slept, never ate, and worked every single second, your potential is capped by time. But systems don't sleep. A piece of software doesn't need a long weekend. Capital doesn't clock out at 5 p.m. Think of it like doing manual data entry versus writing a script that just automates the whole database in seconds. When you decouple your earning potential from your personal time, your output becomes virtually unlimited.
Moving on to Section 2, redefining smart work through leverage, systems, and strategy.
So how exactly do we escape this illusion? Well, we do it by entirely redefining what work even means, shifting away from a paradigm of perspiration to a paradigm of preparation. That old habit relies on linear growth. It's a basic 1-to-1 ratio. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a straight, agonizingly slow line upward. Smart work, on the other hand, creates exponential growth. Because you're building assets and systems, your early efforts actually compound over time. You might spend 10 hours writing a piece of software or recording an online course, but that asset continues to generate value indefinitely. You're no longer just adding, you are multiplying. It's a real game changer.
Let's break down the core elements of this smart work paradigm. First up, leverage assets. This could be capital, code, media, or even other people's time. Second, build automated systems that can execute tasks totally without your manual intervention. Third, employ strategic thinking. You need to spend your time deciding what the most important lever to pull is, rather than just blindly yanking on every lever in sight. And fourth, relentlessly focus on scale. If an idea can't serve 1,000 people just as easily as it serves 10, it's just not truly scalable. True wealth is generated through this exact strategy, not just through your sweat.
Section 3. The Wealth Architect Mindset. Designing the System.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it completely redefines your role in the wealth accumulation process. Think about it. If you want to build a massive skyscraper, you don't run out there and furiously slap bricks together yourself, right? A wealth architect intentionally chooses not to lay every brick. Instead, their job, their true actual value, is in designing the highly scalable blueprint that ensures millions of bricks get laid perfectly, efficiently, and profitably, even when they aren't physically on the job site. You are transitioning from being the laborer to being the visionary.
Let's really cement these differences. Look at effort. The grinder applies manual force while the architect delegates and automates. Look at focus. The grinder is perpetually stuck working in the business, constantly putting out daily fires, while the architect works on the business, steering the whole ship from above. And finally, scaling. The grinder's income is firmly capped by their own exhaustion point, whereas the architect's scaling potential is literally infinite. You have to ask yourself, Which column do your daily habits fall into?
Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds into an actionable framework. Building your blueprint, from grinder to architect.
Because look, identifying the problem is really only half the battle. Now we need to map out the practical transition. Here is the sequential progression required to pour the foundation and frame the walls of your financial future. Step 1 is shifting your mindset from measuring time to measuring value creation. Step 2 is building those scalable systems we just discussed. Step 3 requires you to finally let go of control so you can delegate and leverage other resources. And step 4 is a relentless focus on compounding strategy, making decisions today that are going to yield exponential results tomorrow.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that this number one step, changing your mindset, is the bedrock upon which the entire Millionaire Blueprint rests. Shifting from time to value, from muscle to strategy, it is totally non-negotiable. If you try to build systems while still thinking like a grinder who values hourly wages over scalable equity, your skyscraper is just going to collapse before it even reaches the second floor.
Which brings us to Section 5, Becoming a Millionaire, the completed mansion.
When you master this blueprint, you hit the climax of our architectural narrative, the point where your systems are operating beautifully and your leverage is completely optimized. Wealth is the result of smart systems, not exhausted muscles. So why does this matter? What should you really take away from all this? Because recognizing this truth is the only way to break through the ceiling of the daily grind. As long as you believe that working harder is the only way up, you are going to remain trapped. Internalizing this truth frees you up to finally start building the machinery instead of just being a tiny cog inside of it. And that brings us to a quote that beautifully summarizes our core thesis today. To become a millionaire, you must master the architecture of wealth through smart work, not just hard work. I mean, how empowering is that realization? You do not have to break your back to achieve your financial dreams. You just have to use your mind to build a better blueprint. It is all about working brilliantly, not just working relentlessly.
Which leaves us with this final, completely vital question to ask yourself as you go about your day today. Look at your tasks, look at your calendar, and ask yourself honestly, right now, in my career or my business, am I just laying bricks or am I designing the blueprint? The answer to that question is going to determine your financial future. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start drafting your new blueprint today. I'll see you next time.